Hold up. Something needs to be said regarding those socks. Let me explain.
Hello, Harry here. The reason for the video today is that I was with a group of runners recently, and one of them turned to me and asked a question that's been playing on my mind ever since. He said, "Harry, why is it that when we're all wearing trainer socks, you always, when wearing shorts, wear a longer sock?" And it is true. I do like to wear a longer sock, or as it's known in the sock world, a crew style sock. And when I think back to situations where I've been with other runners, whether it be on the start line of a race perhaps, or a Monday night evening training session, most of the people are wearing either no-show or very small trainer socks. So why is it that I'm the long sock freak? So I thought today I'd have a quick chat about some of the reasons perhaps that I've never thought of myself as to why I wear a longer sock rather than a trainer sock. So the easiest way to begin, I think, is to give you a little more information on the different types and lengths of running socks available. The first type of sock is called a no-show. This type of sock tries to hide as much of the sock as possible. It basically tries to not exist at all. They cannot see any of my sock. Then you move on to the socks that just show a tiny little strip of colour. Then you move on to a quarter length. This covers the very lowest part of the ankle and does offer a couple of inches of material. Then, moving up in length, you get to my favourite, the previously mentioned crew sock. And then finally, you get the full length sock, which comes up to just below the knee and covers the whole of the calf. Often that doubles up or comes in the form of a compression sock. Firstly, I like to run off the roads quite a lot, which means going out on the trails. And when out on the trails, you will encounter a plethora of foliage, whether that be some stray plants or something harsher like a bramble. I do recall years back having worn a trainer sock and getting some grazes and even a couple of cuts on my ankles just from running through the woods. A longer sock essentially just adds a little bit more protection. The second reason, and I will admit this is probably mainly placebo, but I do feel like the sock just holds the ankle quite nicely. Going a long ways back, one of the worst injuries I ever had was I went over on a curb, twisted my ankle very badly and wrenched quite a lot of muscles in my foot at the time. And so yes, whilst it might just be something that's comforting for my mind, I do have that feeling, even now as I wear this crew sock, that my foot, ankle and the bottom of my calf is being held quite nicely and quite firmly, and it feels like it keeps the ankle in place. I agree, it's probably nonsense, but it's just nice mentally for me. The third reason is it's quite simply a bit of a shout out to the past. I've realised, having watched some old documentaries and clips on film, that a lot of the runners in the golden era of sort of the 70s and the 80s of running, it seems to be that it was the fashion to wear a longer sock. Guys wearing shorts and, admittedly, shoes that are not nearly as technical as the range today, but with it a long, often white, crew-style sock. Even my own father, there are some photos still floating around of him finishing when he ran his PB, for example, at the London Marathon in 1991. He's crossing the line wearing a long sock. So maybe somewhere biologically in my subconscious, I have this sort of father-son urge to replicate what he once did when he was my age. Another reason perhaps that I wear a longer crew sock is that a lot of the modern day trainers now, we're finding the heel tab at the back is getting quite high. Take the Predict by Salomon, for example. This is 2 years into a 3-year road shoe product, and while Salomon are known for their trail shoes, this is their road option. I'll tell you a quick interesting anecdote. They actually took the Victoria's Secret bra cup technology and put it on their heel to make it beautiful and soft and not really feel too much like the heel's that noticeable. But what they did also do is make that heel tab quite high, and we're seeing that on a lot of shoes now. I particularly like what's called a fly knit or a sock knit feel shoe. For example, the Free Run over there circa 2016, a rare and beautiful vintage of a shoe. But that also, like the Predict, comes up quite high around the ankle. Now you can't guarantee, particularly with your no-show trainer sock, that you're not going to have the sock lining below the actual lining of the shoe. And whilst this might be very soft, it's hard when you're purchasing the shoe to know that 50 miles down the road, this isn't going to start to become irritating or even rubbing. Wearing a crew sock, for me, just eliminates that possibility full stop and means that you're going to fit nicely in every type of shoe. And then my final reason for wearing a longer crew sock is quite simply that I like the way it looks. Aesthetically, it runs up nicely from the top of the shoe, encapsulating the ankle. For me, that's a pleasurable aesthetic. And yes, I know I'm a weird running geek who does a YouTube channel on running and a podcast on running, but for me, aesthetically, the crew sock, Now, one final thing to mention before I go. This has been quite a biased video as to why I wear a crew sock. So I feel like to balance it out just a little bit, I will give you one negative of wearing a crew sock and why perhaps a trainer sock might have the advantage in this area. And that is tan lines. If you spend a lot of time in the English summer, or if you go abroad for a few weeks in a hot country and run on holiday, you may find that you start to develop a pale foot and ankle that then all of a sudden moves into a nice gleaming tanned calf at the top, which for some people can look quite weird. It actually can look like you're still wearing a crew sock, even though actually it's just a change in skin tone. My solution to that is just wear crew socks 100% of the time, never take them off, and no one will know. Or a more reasonable alternative would be at the end of your run, make sure you get out and spend a lot of time barefoot, which is great for your foot strength anyway, but also just allows the rest of the foot to catch up in looking sexy. Thank you for watching. One other side note, we just went through 50 subscribers on the YouTube channel, so thank you everyone who subscribed and is supporting and for all the lovely messages that we get. We really, really appreciate it, and it's so exciting every time we get a new subscriber. So hit that subscribe button, and remember that Jog On is also a podcast, so check us out on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. If you're struggling today for motivation to go out on that run, I'm telling you, go on that run, you won't regret it, and most importantly of all, jog on.